We'll go with suing UEFA. Reportedly, Manchester United have hired lawyers and are prepared to take UEFA to court. So I suppose you would call that suing them. Or taking legal action against them because they won't allow us to sign Todibo from Nice. Manchester United are essentially claiming that yes, it's between associated parties, but they will pay a fair market price, and they don't see why they shouldn't be able to do it. When we have seen the RB clubs trade players before and both be in the Champions League, City have just bought a player of their own club, although they're not in the Champions League together. If you're allowing us to compete in the same competition, and if we're trading players at market value, where is Man United believe there should be no issue in that. And it looks like Man United here could be following suit of their local rivals, Man City, and suing or taking to court a governing body. Now, there's no official word from Manchester United yet. This is a report that's come from Sasha Tavoliera. But what do you boys make of Man United going to the court of arbitration to have that rule looked at?
It's funny because you're suing UEFA, and every time you bring a City fan on here, they start waffling about the red cartel and, how United, Arsenal, and Liverpool are the reason of City's downfall and all that. But United are doing the same thing that City's doing. So, red cartel my ass, City fans. Shata Rui Pinto should be knighted. Now, back to Man United. I keep my energy the same, whether it's United, City, my own club. I don't like this. I completely don't like this whatsoever. I don't like the fact that the owner of the same two clubs could make transfers between each other, because this will open up a hellacious kind of world, which it already has. I mean, we've already seen Savio move to Man City. Obviously, someone's going to tell me, oh, yeah, but he played for Anderlecht or whatever the hell he played. You get my point in it. Like, he was a Girona player. So I'm saying that's something I will forever be against, even if it's my own football club. Even if it's Liverpool buying, let's say, Lille, whoever, insert, club in France. If we're buying a Lille or we're buying a whoever, I don't like that. I really don't, because thing is with Nice, and I always put the smaller club in mind. Yes, Nice is not a global, club. Yes, they're not a global institution. Yes, they're not watched around the world, and yes, they're all that stuff. At the end of the day, they still have a community that care about them, a community that love them. And I get the part where you say, okay, we're going to pay fair market price. So let's assume, let's put it this way. Let's say Liverpool want Todibo, Nice want 40 million. Man United want Todibo, also they have to pay 40 million, as an example. Like, let's say it's very fair, there's nothing wrong with it, blah, blah, blah. I still think, based on the concept that they both are owned by the same club, it's wrong, by definition. So I'm not even going extreme example. I'm not saying, yo, guys, we're going to get Todibo for 3 million. It's unfair. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not going extreme example. I'm saying even if they pay a fair market value, I don't like the fact that the same owner could sell to himself, basically. That's the one thing that I don't like, because I don't know what guarantees that the money even goes to Nice to begin with. Like, there's many complications, there are many complicated matters. And I called out the RB clubs when they sold to each other as well. I'm against that regardless. So no,
I disagree with you, Osama. I disagree with you. Sorry, Terry. I disagree with you. I'm going to tell you why. It's simple. Because they are not going to hold the player at ransom if he wants to go to Liverpool, for the example you said. If the player wants to go to Liverpool and the owner said, no, you're not going unless Liverpool pays 60 million, I think the player will take them to court. The player will complain. If the player wants to go to Man United, he's going to go to Man United. I see this rule. As long as it's market value, I see no problem with it. Because if you look at it from outside, if the owner is not there, would you not agree that Todibo, if Man United come asking Nice, Todibo would have let, I'm going to go Man United, because Man United is the bigger club. Logically speaking, if someone goes from Salzburg to Leipzig, yes, they will go from the Austrian league to the Bundesliga because it's the bigger league. So I see no problem with this. As long
Can I
as
ask you a question, Mo, please?
Yes.
Okay, so let's assume, for the sake of argument, let's go to a very realistic scenario. Yeah. Let's say Liverpool as well want Todibo. Todibo now wants to move to Liverpool over United. Do you think Nice allow that?
Yes. Why not?
I
genuinely think at the end, if the guy wants to go, he's going to go.
Let me just interject for a minute here, boys. I agree with what Mo's saying, but that's where it's about fairness. So if Liverpool and Man United both bid the same amount of money and Todibo picks Liverpool, Nice shouldn't be able to block it in that circuit. If they do, then you make that the rule. You almost make it, as long as another club is bidding the same amount of money, or if the player decides not to join, he doesn't have to. If he's not forced into going to that club, then there shouldn't be an issue with it, as long as you're paying market value. City have done this multi-club project brilliantly. And it's one element of City that I've never really challenged or overly questioned. I've always said it, what a great model to have all these, clubs that they can loan players out to and buy from. But the only situation that needed to be correct is that there was real market value in the players that you're buying. So if Todibo would cost anybody else £50 million, then we should have to pay. If we're getting him for 20 million, then I agree there is a problem with that, because it is financially cheating the system. If we get him well below market, and by the way, those rules exist within business in the UK anyway. So for instance, if I'm selling my business and it's worth £2 million, but you know what, Mo, you're my friend, I'm going to sell it to you for £500,000. There can be huge tax implications for you later on down the line, because it can be audited and they look at it and go, hang on a minute, how have you bought a business worth X for £500,000? What's going on here? You're not allowed to do that in general business anyway. So I've no issue with that being the rule, but I don't see why they should be blocking us. And I think at the very least, as Man United fans, I want to understand why we can't do it, but the RB clubs could, when it came to Šeško as an example. And I'm sure there's been other exchange. Then I just want to understand how they differentiate those two things, or if they brought the rule in now, why? Is it going to be further widespread? I think those things are happening, but look, we'll see what happens.
How would you answer the question that I asked Mo? Very realistic scenario, same wages, same money, exactly. And let's say Todibo wants to choose Liverpool. Do you really think, let's not act ideal world here, objectively, do you think Jim Ratcliffe will go like, yeah, you can go to Liverpool? Come on.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, and he may say no. And I think it's one of those things in life. I don't know if you guys experienced this in the schools you went to. I've seen it in workplaces as well. Sometimes the minority can ruin it for the majority. So maybe the teachers say, right, you guys can use this room as a common room. Your whatever year, the most senior year in school, this is your common room. And then you get that one idiot who does something stupid, like brings a bottle of beer into the common room. And then that probably didn't happen in Jordan, to be fair, but it definitely happens in England. And then the school says, that's it, the common room's gone, nobody can use it. That's what Sir Jim would do in that circumstance. It would be, okay, well, you've ruined it. Now there's a carpet ban, sort of a blanket carpet ban, a blanket approach to everybody, and no one can do it now. So I think it's going to be fair. But Terry, please do some research first on what are you actually talking about?
Here come Maradona.
This is what's so funny. Like, from my perspective, some people are saying it isn't suing them. Well, when you get a lawyer and you're threatening the court of arbitration for sport, what are you doing when taking legal action against somebody is what?
Suing them.
Suing someone. Do you know what I mean? Fair enough. I am not legally trained, right? I'm only going by the report. If there's a slightly different word, great, I'll change it. But tell me what that word is. But essentially, Man United, and what we're doing right now is posturing. We're saying, right, we're getting a lawyer, and we might take you to court. Are you going to reconsider? That's what's going to happen first. And what you might find UEFA do is go, do you know what? Okay, as long as it's within market value, and this organization can investigate the transaction to make sure you didn't reject Liverpool when Todibo wanted to go there, and as long as the fee is within market value and it isn't spread over a 15-year period to pay it, okay, then maybe they'll turn around and do that, but we'll see. Viewers, make sure
one thing that I agree with you on, just quickly, it should be either the same rule for everyone or not. Don't say RB are allowed to do it, but United aren't, or City aren't. You have to keep one consistent rule for everyone, and just so we know, even as football fans, what should we follow and what we shouldn't follow. Simple as.
Yeah, and someone here says that they haven't taken legal action yet, Terry. Well, I know. That's why it says, the title says to Man United to sue, which is a preemptive wording, which means they're going to, or they're threatening to. No one said they're actually going to court yet. But essentially, when you get a lawyer and you make it public that you're doing it, that's the first stage of legal action, my friend. So factually, you are wrong. It's the beginning of legal action. It's that I'm going to call a lawyer. Some people do it when you're in a dispute. I'm going to call the police. Even if you don't end up calling them, that threat of the police is still part of that whole process. Exactly, taking action. So yes. But look, United are saying it there. Listen, there's another big story today surrounding Manchester United as well. And it's that the Ineos may give up the naming rights to Old Trafford and or the new stadium on that site to raise the money to build the 90,000 plus seater stadium. What do you guys make of Manchester United looking essentially being called, I don't know, the Apple Arena, so that they can suddenly have a 90,000 seat stadium. Thoughts on that, boys?
No problem at all. I don't see any problem with it at all, by the way. O2, it does. I don't care. Etihad, like Manchester City. I don't see any problem. And I don't know why.
Man United to a club with no soul, please.
And I don't know what. Okay, the new stadium is not going to be called Old Trafford. It's going to be a new stadium. It's not going to be named the same. Like, you cannot build a new stadium like Arsenal built the Emirates. We're not making fun of them, right? Like, until this moment, Tottenham Hotspur cannot find a sponsor to the stadium. I don't see why people are making fun of Man United. They're actually doing the right thing. They are selling the naming right to someone to make money, to pay wages, to build a stadium. I don't see any problem with it. I think people are nitpicking here. There is no problem.
Football's dead.
Laughing. Why are you laughing? I want to understand. Why are you smiling?
Because football's dead.
You know why? You know why?
The last thing we need is Old Trafford changing to Apple Arena.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because your club is not.
I would never change Anfield to the Galaxy Arena just so we can get 90,000 people in there. I'd never want that. I'd always want the name to be Anfield. I understand it's only symbolic, and I understand it might not mean thing in the grand scheme of things. And I understand,
it goes yes, with the emotion.
In the big picture, they want to raise the money to build the new stadium. I get that, but me, I'm very old school when it comes to these things. I want Old Trafford to remain Old Trafford, and Anfield to remain Anfield, and Highbury to remain Highbury. I mean, the soul that Arsenal fans had in Highbury was way more than the soul they have now in the Emirates. And it might not be the name change that caused that, but it might be part of it. I don't know. It's just I love these old things. It should always be old-fashioned to me.
I listen. I understand where you're coming from, and when Newcastle Stadium become the Sports Direct Arena or whatever it was, I sort of stood there with Newcastle fans, not in spirit, not literally. I didn't travel to Newcastle. I was like, yeah, that's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But then my mind over the years started to change because I still just called it St. James's Park. In fairness, I do call the Emirates because it was a new stadium in a new location.
Everyone still call it St. James's Park. You are right. But
it's true. For instance, I don't even know what Spurs' stadium's called, but I still just call it White Hart Lane. I still just say, are we at White Hart Lane? Now, if Man United were moving 5 miles away and it was a brand new location in a brand new area, and it was going to be a brand new centre being built, I get it. But as long as we redevelop, or we build on the same that we build on Trafford, where it is, Old Trafford, where it is, everybody's still just going to call it Old Trafford. The fact that officially in the papers, or when you go onto a website, when you I look at like live score for updates, it will say the fixture, the date, the referee, the managers, and it will say in a little bit Old Trafford. It might say the Apple Arena. I don't care. It's still going to be Old Trafford as far as I'm concerned. But if we can suddenly have a 90,000 plus seat stadium, it already, when that place is buzzing, there ain't nothing like it. You add another 15 to 20,000. I mean, what I really hope we do is break the 100,000 mark. I would love that. I almost get a feeling that they won't allow us to be, the planners won't allow us to end up being bigger than Wembley. I've just got a horrible gut feeling they won't allow it to be bigger than Wembley, but I hope they do. But financially for us, it's important. And I know a lot of football fans hate the financial talk, but remember, some people said, why can't the owner just pay himself? He's a billionaire. Well, there's only a limited amount of money that owners can pump themselves into a football club. It's the reason why Etihad Airways it's why City have all these sponsors that have come in, because their owner can't actually pump his own money directly in the club to do all these things. So it's going to probably cost £1 billion to build a new stadium.
But City are a club with no soul anyway. May not have soul.
No, I understand it, but I don't think it will remove our soul. It's one of those things. Everybody that goes there will still call it Old Trafford. No one, Man United fans won't suddenly go, oh, I'm so looking forward to going to the Apple Arena. They'll just say, I'm looking forward to going to Old Trafford. I'm still going to OT. It won't really, the naming rights, as much as it sounds bad, in reality, it isn't going to change. Like, it really isn't going to, like our shows, we haven't got a sponsor on today's show. But if we got sponsored, the show's exactly the same, even if I have a different QR code and a different logo. The show is identical. Nothing changes, other than the fact that we might promote a product that I endorse and I think is really good and I think the users might like. Other than that, the shows are identical. It doesn't change the football terrace. So I'm just, maybe my mind has changed as I've got older. I look at it this as well. A lot of people go, oh, it's terrible that our owners are doing this. Why do you think they're going to have to raise the money to be able to build a new stadium? Because the Glazers have hemorrhaged over £3 billion out the club in the last 17 years. And that's the irony of this. We want to get a new stadium and we want it as quickly as possible. But £3 billion has bled out of this football club through poor investments, dividends, and interest payments. Of course, we've got to go and raise. Of course, we've got to raise the funds somehow to build the stadium and pay off debts and all these types of things that have been lumbered upon us. Because remember, the owners can't pump all the money in to do it. It's against the rules of the game. Unless Man United fans want our owners to cheat financially in a way in which that we've condemned other clubs for, this is the only method that can be used. So I don't really get, again, I think it's a little bit of fake outrage. But yeah, for me, I think it's a good thing.